Welcome to KMUZ Theater Talk. I'm your host, Ed Schoaps. KMUZ Theater Talk comes your way the first and third Fridays of every month with news and in-depth interviews about auditions and performances of plays and musicals running at theaters throughout the Mid-Willamette Valley. On today's episode, I'll talk with director Debbie Neel and actors Emily Sass and Antonio Schoaps about the British romp Black Comedy coming to the Pentacle Theatre stage June 27th through July 19th. Then Tom Nabhan and Susan Coromel join me to talk about the 12th annual T33 Summer Festival that opens July 29th and runs through August 10th at Willamette University in Salem. This regional festival features new plays and musicals in development written by Pacific Northwest playwrights. But first, let's dive into the KMUZ Theater Talk calendar for news about auditions and shows happening at your favorite Mid-Willamette Valley theaters. At Gallery Theatre in downtown McMinnville, The Curious Savage by John Patrick and directed by Tanya Nichols runs July 18th through August 3rd at Gallery Theatre. This beloved comedy is about a wealthy widow who discovers that money can't buy happiness but can fund dreams if you can keep it away from your greedy relatives. The musical Xanadu by Bean, Lynn, and Farrar and directed by Kelly Jansen and Marlon Nutman will be on stage August 29th through September 21st at Gallery. For show information and tickets, go to gallerytheater.org. On Newburgh's Penguin Productions outdoor stage this summer from July 24th through August 9th is Upon the King, written by William Shakespeare, conceived and adapted by Andrew Philpott. Upon the King is adapted from 8 of Shakespeare's great history plays, weaving one continuous story of England's crown as it passes from king to king, through acts both noble and treacherous. From the 100 Years' War with France to the chaos of the War of the Roses, this play captures the triumphs, betrayals, and humanity behind the throne as only Shakespeare can tell it. For show information and tickets, go to the Penguins on Stage webpage. For the greater Salem area theaters, at Bridgetown Conservatory in Salem, it's a week and a musical summer camp at Bridgetown for students aged 12 through 20. They will be cast in, rehearsed, and perform The Lightning Thief, the Percy Jackson musical, all in one busy week. The camp runs August 11th through 15th at Bridgetown's downtown Salem location. And there are still 2 spots open for Bridgetown's summer term college prep class held each Saturday morning in Salem from July 12th through August 30th. And registration is also open for the fall term college prep class running September 13th through November 1st. These classes aim to give high school students the skills and training they need to successfully get accepted at their college theater program of choice. Bridgetown students have had a remarkable 100% acceptance rate for the past 3 years after attending college prep classes at the Bridgetown Conservatory Studio in downtown Salem. See the Bridgetown Salem Facebook page for how to sign up for the week-long summer camp and college prep classes, and for links and tickets to Bridgetown performances. At Kaiser Homegrown Theatre, Waiting for Godot by Dave Hansen and directed by Linda Baker continues at Kaiser Homegrown through June 29th. In this play, filled with razor-sharp wit and absurd humor, Esther and Val, 2 perpetually overlooked understudies, find themselves trapped in the existential purgatory of the backstage, endlessly waiting for their chance to perform in Beckett's classic. As they bicker over art, life, and the elusive purpose of their existence, they unknowingly mirror the very play they're meant to understudy. To learn more about this existential comedy, check out the KMUZ Theater Talk podcast for my interview with director Linda Baker and actors Tom Hewitt and Jeremy Clifton. And for show information and tickets, go to kaiserhomegrowntheater.org and their Facebook page. At Pentacle Theatre in Salem, Black Comedy, a delirious British romp that takes place in a blackout, comes to the Pentacle Theatre stage June 27th through July 19th. It's directed by Debbie Neel. Lovesick and desperate, sculptor Brinsley Miller has embellished his apartment with furniture and objets d'art borrowed from the absent antique collector next door, hoping to impress his fiancée's pompous father and a wealthy art dealer. But this fussy neighbor returns home just as a blown fuse plunges the apartment building into darkness. Unexpected guests, errant electrical cords, and other snares impede Brinsley's frantic efforts to return his neighbor's borrowed furniture and art before light is restored. I'll talk with director Debbie Neel and two actors from Black Comedy later in today's episode of KMUZ Theater Talk. Joe Dodge's acting workshop for adults 18 and older meets on Saturdays at Pentacle Theatre's rehearsal studio in downtown Salem. You can learn more about Joe's classes on the KMUZ Theater Talk podcast. And on the Pentacle Theatre call board, director Jennifer Jimjewski will hold auditions July 19th for A Comedy of Tenors by Ken Ludwig. That show runs October 3rd through 25th. And director Karen McCarty will hold auditions August 23rd for In-Laws, Outlaws, and Other People That Should Be Shot by Steve Franco. That show runs November 21st through 13th. See the PentacleTheater.org website and Facebook page for tickets, audition information, and to sign up for acting workshops. At Struts and Frets Theater Company in Rickreall, Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream plays September 4th through 6th at the River's Edge Amphitheater in downtown Independence. See the Struts and Frets Facebook page and Instagram page for show information, and reserve your tickets at eventbrite.com. Theater 33's Summer Festival 2025 opens July 29th at Willamette University in Salem and runs through August 10th. Theater 33 is a new play development company that helps Pacific Northwest playwrights develop their new plays from 60-hour rehearsed script-in-hand workshop productions that add fully designed lights, sound, props, sets, and costumes to a world premiere full production. The 2025 Summer Festival 3x33 full productions will rotate on the Willamette U stage July 29th through August 10th. Those plays include The City and the Sea, a new musical set in Astoria, Oregon by Paul Lewis, opening July 29th. Confabulous, a comedy drama by Susan Faust, opening July 30th. And Wag Me, a new thriller by R. Nicholas, opening July 31st. The festival also includes short pop-up plays. The first pop-up will tour Portland State University and the Capitol Auto Pavilion and Willamette University in Salem from July 11th through August 8th. That show is Coal is King by Quick Jones. It's about a trailblazer for other women working in the coal industry. Two more pop-up plays will tour Portland State University and Willamette University from July 12th through August 10th. They are I Want You, a dramatic comedy by Kathleen Cahill, and Proper, a steampunk comedy of manners by Angela Gierko. And as a festival bonus, from July 26th through 27th, Northwest Theater Workshop and Theater 33 will present Detours, a fun and surprise-filled walking theatrical tour of Willamette University. Go to theater33.org and their Facebook page for festival details and to reserve your tickets. For the Staten and Silverton area theaters, at Brush Creek Playhouse in Silverton, The Bad Seed by Maxwell Anderson runs July 15th through 31st. On the surface, little Rhonda Penmark is sweet, charming, full of old-fashioned graces, loved by her parents, admired by her elders, but Rhoda's mother has an uneasy feeling about her when one of her schoolmates mysteriously drowns at a picnic. The Bad Seed is directed by Russell Oliveira. On the Brush Creek Playhouse call board, auditions for The Enchanted Bookshop, a children's production for ages 6 through 15, happen at Brush Creek June 28th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's all about a plain-looking shop where characters from books magically come alive at night. The Enchanted Bookshop is written by Todd Walliger and directed by Jennifer A. Bell. It runs September 11th through 21st at Brush Creek Theater. And Miscast, Moonbeams and Shooting Stars, the Brush Creek Playhouse's 50th anniversary gala, is coming up on July 26th, and auditions for gala performers are July 17th through 20th. Go to brushcreekplayhouse.com and Facebook for audition, show, and ticket information. At Spotlight Community Theater in downtown Staten, Spotlight has received a City of Staten improvement grant to rebuild their stage and green room. That work will be completed in mid-July by volunteers, and you can keep track of the project through updates on Spotlight's Facebook page. Enrollment is also open for Spotlight's Summer Drama Day Camp that runs August 4th through 8th for young performers aged 7 through 12 and teen helpers aged 13 through 19. This summer, Spotlight brings Shakespeare to life with a kid-friendly adaptation of Hamlet that allows campers to explore storytelling, character expression, and theatrical creativity in a supportive environment. Space is limited, and Spotlight offers full and partial scholarships for qualifying low-income families. You can enroll now as a summer camp student or teen helper and apply for student scholarships through the Spotlight Facebook page. For the Albany and Corvallis area theaters, on stage at Albany Civic Theater is Dial M for Murder. It runs through June 28th at ACT. This classic psychological thriller unravels an elegant mystery about an ex-tennis star who plots to kill his wealthy wife. But the night of the planned attack, in a thrilling surprise twist, the plan goes awry. Check out the KMUZ Theater Talk podcast for an interview with director Dan Bushong and actor John Michael Murphy. Edward Albee's Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf takes to the Albany Civic Stage July 18th through 26th. Get your tickets now for Albee's masterwork Evening of Fun and Games with George and Martha. On the Albany Civic Theater call board, auditions are coming up for the first show of ACT's 25-26 season. It's Noel Coward's classic comedy Blithe Spirit, and auditions are happening June 24th and 25th at the theater. The show is directed by Shauna Kifuk and runs September 19th through August 4th. For show information and tickets and audition details, go to albanycivic.org and Facebook. At the Mid-Valley Musical Theater in Albany, Walt Disney's Tarzan, the musical, with music by Phil Collins, runs August 7th through 16th at the Albany Performing Arts Center. For show information and tickets, go to mvmtheater.org and Facebook. At the Majestic Theater in Corvallis, As You Like It, Shakespeare's wonderful tales set in the Forest of Arden will be on stage in the outdoor amphitheater at Bruce Starker Arts Park in Corvallis, July 12th and 13th. This family-friendly production features a fun cast of sassy clowns, melancholy lords, lovers in disguise, Twitter-pated shepherds, banished dukes, and even a wrestler. Children 12 and under get in free, and the children's activities start at 5 p.m. and continue throughout the show, along with food and wine vendors on site. A pre-show concert and live music throughout the show from local folk Americana band The Flat Stanley Incident starts at 6 p.m., and As You Like It runs from 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. The show is directed by Harriet Owen Nixon. And The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald and adapted by Simon Levy runs September 26th through October 5th at the Majestic Theater. Director Laura Blackwell brings the breathtaking glamour and decadent excess of the jazz age to the stage in F. Scott Fitzgerald's classic story. For show information and tickets, go to majestic.org. At the Mid-Valley Colleges and Universities, Chemeketa Community College's Theater Under the Stars presents Disney's Mary Poppins July 29th through August 7th at the Jerry Frank Amphitheater in Salem's Riverfront Park. The show is directed by Stephen Munshaw and choreographed by Christopher Dean. For more information, email smunshaw@chemeketa.edu. And that's a wrap for today's KMUZ Theater Talk calendar for plays and auditions at your favorite theaters. If your Mid-Willamette Valley Theater has a play or audition coming up that's not on our calendar, please send it our way at kmuztheatertalk@gmail.com. Coming up after the break, I talk with director Debbie Neel and actors Emily Sass and Antonio Schoaps about the fun British comedy romp Black Comedy, coming to the Pentacle Theatre stage June 27th through July 19th. Stick around. We'll be right back after this. KMUZ Theater Talk and KMUZ FM rely on the support of our listeners and sponsors throughout our community. Because you enjoy listening to KMUZ Theater Talk on your commercial-free, all-volunteer community radio station, I'm asking you for your help to keep KMUZ FM on the air and KMUZ Theater Talk coming your way. Please go to kmuz.org today, click the donate button, and become a sustaining donor or make a one-time contribution that fits your budget. And thanks a million for your support. My next guests on KMUZ Theater Talk are director Debbie Neel and actors Emily Sass and Antonio Schoaps from the Pentacle Theatre production of Black Comedy. It takes to the Pentacle Theatre stage June 27th through July 19th. Welcome to KMUZ Theater Talk, you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Just to be clear, Antonio happens to be my son. He's involved in this show. Just wanted to be clear about that from the start. Debbie, as the director of this show, this is quite a difficult production to mount. Tell us a little bit about why it's a challenge.
Yes, it definitely is a challenge. The difficulty in mounting this show is, first of all, it's a very physical and active production. The reason some of it is so difficult is because the premise of the piece actually is a reversal of light and dark. And by that, I mean at the beginning of the show, two main characters are on stage and they're preparing for a party in the apartment that they are in. All the lights are on. As an audience, we see a dark stage and only hear the actors.
So at the very beginning of the show, usually when lights go up, that's not going to happen. The theater is going to be dark and the audience is going to be watching the show in the dark.
Just for a few minutes.
Ah.
It's probably about 5 pages worth of script that are in the dark. There is a power outage in the apartment, and that is when the audience sees the lights come up. However, the characters on stage are stumbling around in the dark, trying to find matches or candle or something.
Oh, that's perfect.
And I should add that this play takes place in 1965. So it was before we had, the handy cell phone light that would have helped them out.
Right. You'd actually have to have a flashlight or candles or, my favorite, the kerosene lamp.
Well, yes, I suppose that would work too.
Which I still have on my mantle, just in case we have a power outage. Tell us a little bit about the premise of the show itself, Debbie, a little bit about the storyline.
The storyline centers around Brinsley Miller, who is a young artist, and his fiancée, Carol. They have set up a party so Brinsley can meet Carol's father, Colonel Melkett. And also, they're very excited because an elderly millionaire art collector is going to come over to look at some of Brinsley's art and hopefully buy a piece, which would really make Brinsley as an artist if this art collector were to have one of his pieces. In order to impress her father as well as the millionaire art collector, they have decided they needed to dress up their apartment. They have a neighbor who is an antique dealer. He is out of town for the weekend. So they decided they could borrow some of his furniture and decorative pieces to make their apartment look more appealing, which they do. And they're going to put everything back, of course. But shortly after the power outage happens, Harold returns early. And Brinsley and Carol are in a panic.
So Brinsley has to put the furniture and everything back.
Yes.
Oh, wow. That sounds like a real challenge. But the audience get to see all of that happening in the dark, but they're seeing it with the lights up.
And trying to keep the furniture hidden from Harold so he doesn't realize his pieces are actually in their apartment.
Right.
Yes.
And Brinsley is kind of a ladies' man, and this leads to problems too.
It does. He has a fiancée, but later in the evening, his former girlfriend shows up, and that creates a whole other set of problems for Brinsley.
So, Emily, which girlfriend are you?
I am the ex-girlfriend, Clea. And Clea comes in. She has been gone for 6 weeks. She took off to Finland after who knows which one of their many breakups it could have been after. But she has decided to come back and expects things to be how they were when she left.
Oh, she wants to get back with Brinsley, but Brinsley has a new girlfriend with kind of a pompous dad.
Hmm.
And so that puts those four people in conflict. And Antonio, what role are you playing in this show?
I play the role of the millionaire German art collector who appears right around the very end of the show, but not before the electrician who comes is mistaken for this art dealer.
So they can't be seen by the actors. The audience can see them, but how are they mistaken for one another?
They are both German. They both have German accents and all of that.
Oh, that sounds really fun. So, in addition to playing the world's richest man, you're also doing stage manager work as well. Since most of the people are on stage most of the time, once the party really gets rolling, what are some of the challenges that come to you working with actors backstage?
The main thing I'm dealing with is arranging furniture backstage so
Mhm.
that when Brinsley carries furniture out, I can take that from him and he can grab the next piece he needs to take back on stage. Do like an F1 pit stop of like, take this thing, move that thing, maybe get him some water occasionally.
Well, that sounds really good. Debbie, with a play this complex and with the challenges that Antonio just talked about, like having to deal with furniture moving on and off the stage and that sort of thing, it takes an experienced director to do this. Have you ever directed a show that's anywhere near as complex as this one?
I've directed some very complex shows. The last one before this was The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, which had 52 scenes and hundreds of tech cues. But in terms of the physical movement that needs to happen and the actors needing to convince us that they cannot see in the dark, this has been a huge challenge. We have actually even had a couple of rehearsals where we had the actors wear blindfolds just to feel what it's like to try to get around in a space where you really can't see what's happening.
Was working in the rehearsal studio compared to finally getting to be on the stage of the theater a difficult transition, a tricky transition? How would you describe that?
It's very tricky. One of the issues in the rehearsal space is it's actually a little smaller than our actual stage space. And also in this show, there are stairs that need to be negotiated, which of course we didn't have in the rehearsal space. So that was a whole new piece. And we didn't have actual doors and doorways. So that is another factor because you have to find the door in order to open it and those kinds of things. So, yes, it's been a lot of adjusting blocking and the actors also learning some of the falls and those kinds of things that will happen in the dark.
Well, Emily, as an actor in this show, tell our listeners about some of the challenges that you've had stumbling around in the dark and in the light.
It's been a really interesting show to work on, even compared to other shows I've done, just in the physicality. Moving from the rehearsal space to the theater was a big challenge, just getting used to the new space and reblocking things to work in that different space. But it has been a fun challenge in thinking about, okay, how do I move around just in my normal day to day, but how do I move around when I can't see anything, except that I can? Because the lights are actually on. So that's been fun. It was really fun actually to bring the blindfolds in for some of our rehearsals and actually have to walk around stage with furniture and other actors and see what happens. You have these close calls between actors, which makes for a fun show because obviously we can see each other, but you're giving the illusion that we're almost bumping into each other, but it's just a near miss. It's very fun. I think that, along with all of the crazy mishaps with the moving furniture and going up and down these stairs and really eccentric characters all working around each other, it makes for a really fun rehearsal process and a fun show.
I imagine that requires a heck of a lot of accuracy in your movement. How do you keep the spontaneity of the conflicts in the script alive in this show when you're working with the idea that you have to also be very specific in your movements?
I think it almost sounds counterintuitive, but you have to know almost every move that you're making so that you're doing it the same way every single time. Then the spontaneous aspect of it is more us getting to be actors and getting to have that fun on stage, but it's all very deliberately choreographed and blocked and set. So we know what we're doing and it's supposed to be the same every time. There's no surprises for us as actors so that we can bring the surprises for the audience.
Oh, that sounds like a musical with dancers but no music.
I feel like that's a really good way to phrase that.
Antonio, as the rich art collector, what are some of the challenges that you have with your character in the dark?
Georg Bamberger is not on stage for a lot of the time, namely because shortly after he swiftly exits the stage in an uncontrolled manner through the trap door.
Oh my, that's a pretty big gag. What is the function of the trapdoor in the show?
The trapdoor leads to the fuse box of the house. So the electrician goes down, fixes the fuse, comes out, and the millionaire is stone deaf. He has a big ear trumpet. So the only way to communicate in the dark, he is very bad at. So it's this sort of him stumbling out, stumbling around, trying to find Mr. Miller, the artist he's supposed to see. And in all of that confusion, he falls flat into the trapdoor and has it slammed closed above him.
Then you're stuck underneath the stage then, right?
There is a way to crawl out, and I emphasize crawl there because we can't make that area too high or else we would impact audience sight lines. I mean, it's a little tight, but not impossible to navigate.
Debbie, who are some of the other actors and the roles that they're playing in this show?
Brinsley Miller is being played by Ryan Snyder. Carol Malkett is being played by Megan Emmerich. Miss Furnival, a neighbor who comes into the apartment after the power goes out because she is absolutely terrified of the dark and lives alone, played by Pamela Bilderbeck. Colonel Malkett, Carol's father, is played by Bob Barnett. Harold Gorange, the neighbor who is the antique dealer, played by Anthony Redelsberger. Clea, of course, played by Emily Sass. Schupenzig is the electrician who comes to fix the fuse. He is being played by Stephen Merrick. And, of course, Georg Bamberger is being played by Antonio Schoaps.
Well, that sounds like a pretty big cast to be stumbling around in the dark together. How do you keep them from crashing into one another? I suppose it's the tight choreography more than anything else, right?
Yes, it is the very tight choreography and their awareness. The helpful thing is that in reality, of course, the actors can see because the lights are on, but their characters cannot see because the lights are off.
That must pose another challenge to the actors because they're working with props in the light, but they have to make it look like they're working with the same props in the dark. So
yes,
tell me a little bit about that.
Well, we have some very fun happenings as they try to navigate not just the furniture, but the props. For example, Carol, they decide that everybody should have a drink. So she is mixing drinks without being able to see the bottles, the glasses, the ice bucket, all of those things. She just has to do by feel. That makes for some very, very funny bits. Also, just handing someone an object gets to be tricky if you can't see the person. So that leads to some funny encounters. And navigating up and down the stairs, trying to find a place to sit, making sure you have the chair and you are going to actually sit on that chair. It's a lot of fun. Poor Brinsley, who also has to take furniture out without being heard. That's tricky, but also needs to take back some art pieces that he had borrowed from Harold. There's a Wedgwood bowl. There's a very nice lamp. There are all kinds of these other little pieces that have to be found, first of all, and then gotten out of the apartment.
Well, this sounds like a real treat for the audience to see how the story develops and the actors work in the dark in this power outage. We've all been there, right? I mean, everybody's had a power failure at their home, and sometimes they happen in the middle of the night, and you do kind of stumble around, even though you know your home really well.
Right.
It's like, gee, I thought the bathroom door was closer than that, or, or, damn it, I ran into the bathroom door again.
Yeah.
So there's all of those things that we have to deal with. It's familiar, but it's a fun way to see the show. Emily, speaking of fun, every actor that I know and have worked with and have interviewed has a favorite moment that they look forward to in the show that's their own favorite moment. It might involve a scene, working with another actor, doing some sort of business. What do you look forward to every night when you go to rehearsal and you know you're going to be able to experience your favorite part of the show?
So a fun bit that I get to do as Clea, I come in and no one else knows that I'm there. Brinsley has found me out, but nobody else knows. And once everyone else has kind of pieced together that I'm there, I get to put on this act as Clea being another character. And not only, so I've gotten to do my standard British accent the rest of the show, but now I get to put on a fun Cockney accent and pretend to be the maid. And the maid is a little bit of a tyrant, I would say. She has to cause some mischief. And I always really look forward to that just because it's such a fun and out there bit that I get to do in the show.
Well, no spoilers, but Antonio, do you have a favorite part of the show that you look forward to, either seeing it from backstage or experiencing it as Bamberger?
One of my favorite parts in the show is not of something I do, but we've seen throughout the show Brinsley lies very easily. Fabrications come to him naturally and he blurts them out. At one point, he needs help convincing the room of something he's made up, and he turns to Carol, his fiancée, and she has to lie as well, and that's Megan's ability to make it sound so forced, but in a comedic way, like naturally forced, if that makes sense.
Sure. Naturally unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a riot every time.
Debbie, do you have a special moment that you look forward to in the show?
Oh my goodness, there are so many. I don't know that I have a favorite yet. To watch everyone reacting to whatever they hear or think is happening. One of my favorites is when Carol is trying to mix drinks and figure out which liquor bottle has what in it to mix these various drinks. Another is when the Colonel sits down in the chair he thought he had been sitting in, and it turns out to be a very different type of chair, like a rocking chair instead of a straight chair. That's very funny.
Well, it sounds like everybody in this show has something super fun to work with that's a very visual moment.
Oh, yes.
This show happens all in the entire, right? There's no intermission in this show?
The show is about 80 to 90 minutes long. And so there is no intermission. The actual action of the show happens in real time. However, we love to have people have an opportunity to come down to the lobby before the show or after the show. We have partnered with some local artists to have an art show in the lobby for patrons to view some wonderful art from some of our local artists. We've partnered with Artists in Action Pieces will be for sale. There will also be some art on display from David Bliss, who has worked at Pentacle Theatre as an actor, designer, and I think has also worked for CET in Salem.
Well, folks, Black Comedy, a delicious British romp that takes place in a blackout, takes to the Pentacle Theatre stage June 27th through July 19th. It's all about a lovesick and desperate sculptor who embellishes his apartment with furniture and art objects borrowed from his neighbor, who's an absent antique collector. And he's hoping to impress his fiance's father and a wealthy art dealer, but comedy ensues when the neighbor returns home just as a blown fuse plunges the apartment building into darkness. The audience gets to see what happens in the dark with the lights up. And when the lights are down, that means the apartment is actually lit. It's a very interesting concept. I've been talking with director Debbie Neel and actors Emily Sass and Antonio Schoaps. I want to thank you guys for joining me here on KMUZ Theater Talk.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
Coming up next, Tom Nabhan and Susan Coromel join me to talk about the 12th Annual Theater 33 Summer Festival that opens July 29th and runs through August 10th at Willamette University in Salem. We'll be right back after this short break. Hey, it's Ed Schoaps here, host of KMUZ Theater Talk. I know you love hearing about shows and auditions at your favorite mid-Willamette Valley theaters, or you wouldn't be listening to KMUZ Theater Talk right now. That's why I'm asking you to go to kmuz.org today and hit the donate button to support KMUZ Theater Talk and your all-volunteer, commercial-free, nonprofit community radio station. You can make a one-time donation or become a monthly sustaining donor, whatever fits your budget, at kmuz.org. And thanks a million for supporting KMUZ FM and KMUZ Theater Talk. We couldn't do it without you. My next guests on KMUZ Theater Talk are Tom Nabhan and Susan Coromel, who are the two guiding forces behind Theater 33's Summer Festival, which is for plays that are in the work process. Welcome to KMUZ Theater Talk, Tom and Susan.
Hi, Ed. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So this is, the 11th or 12th year for the Theater 33 Festival?
This is the 12th. This is our 12th New Play Summer Festival. Yeah.
Wow, I'm impressed.
It's scaring the heck out of me.
Yeah. How have you guys been able to maintain this for so long? To what do you attribute your success?
Tenacity and the generosity of Willamette University, I would say.
Well, yeah, that and producing really interesting shows. When we say that Theater 33 is a different kind of organization, what do we mean by that?
There's just a handful of companies, Ed, in the Northwest who only produce new plays, and even fewer than a handful who only produce new plays and also help develop them.
So you're a new play development company.
New play development company. And then we're kind of a standalone in a few ways. First of all, we're the only company in the Northwest that fully produces plays in development. Our play development process has more than 80 hours of rehearsal. That's more than anybody else. And also, we're the only company to assign a dramaturg to each playwright in production. And we only produce new plays by Oregon Northwest playwrights.
Wow, that's really an impressive amount of we-onlys.
Yeah, I guess it is. It's true. I mean, I'm not trying to be boastful, but it's just true. It's true.
You guys are really unique, and having taken part in Theater 33 production early on as an actor, it's really a ton of fun for the actors. But let's talk a little bit about the value that it has for the playwrights. Tell us a little bit about how you work with the playwrights on those hours of pre-production before the play actually is performed.
Our resident dramaturg is Laura Wheatman Hill, and she has been acting as the dramaturg for two of the plays this summer, Confabulous and Wag Me. And she started working with both those playwrights almost 2 months ago. And what she'll do is give the script a read and take several notes and then prepare for their first meeting and then find out what the playwright wants to have happen to their play, right? I mean, so often the playwright is at a point where they've written enough by themselves, they need outside input, and that's what we do. So we start with the dramaturg, working with them to keep that play moving forward and getting it ready for actors. So because we have two different kind of seasons that are happening at the same time, because we have our pop-up series, which is a different kind of play development than our main stage series, which is the 3x33. And the pop-up series, they work with the director as dramaturg, and they have 4 rehearsals. So those rewrites are swift, and those plays are performed with some movement/blocking, but mostly music stands, minimal because of the short turnaround and the rewrites that are happening every day. And then our musical, the director is also working as a dramaturg on that project, along with music director and an accompanist.
Wow, that's an enormous amount of work that goes into a very short, compressed time period.
Yeah, especially the musical. They've been working on getting the score ready for rehearsal as well as the book. We every time we pick a musical, we say to ourselves, why did we do this? Because it's so much more complicated, so many more moving pieces. But this will be the 3rd, I think, musical that we've shopped, and ultimately it's very rewarding. But getting there is just a different beast.
Tom, tell me about the selection process that you use for the Theater 33 festival.
Every year, and this number grows, every year we get submissions from all over the Northwest and beyond. From British Columbia, Canada, down to San Francisco, from the coast all the way into Utah and Colorado. I think this year we had 40 submissions. Now, if a play is completed, if the playwright considers the play finished, we do not take it on. If the play is too raw, we don't take it on. We look for plays that are kind of in the sweet spot, where a full production will be of optimal benefit to the playwright to either finish the play after our production or get it much closer to completion. And so of the 51 plays we've done so far, 19 have been finalized and premiered in 15 cities across the country.
Wow, what a track record.
It's about 38% of the plays we've done in total.
Well, that's remarkable. The play that I was in went on to win accolades and awards for local playwright E.M. Lewis, Ellen Lewis. That's a really cool thing that you guys bring all that.
Getting new play development is very difficult for playwrights. It's probably their biggest obstacle of all. There just aren't a lot of companies that'll take it on because they can be financially challenging. People haven't heard of the name of the play because there's no history behind it yet. And so there's a worry of theaters. Well, can we sell this? How do we sell if nobody's heard of this before? That's just one reason why there's an obstacle for playwrights. We're kind of filling a void. Now, it's interesting, Ed, that void it's not so much of a void in different parts of the country. Back east, new play development companies are all over the Eastern Seaboard. 10 companies alone in New York City. So it is robust in other parts of the country, not so robust here in the Northwest.
Yeah, I wonder why that is.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know.
Personally, I love the classics. I love plays that have been produced off-Broadway, on Broadway, and, to see them here on the West Coast. But I'm always looking for something new, something different, something that speaks to issues that are closer to home, that are disrupting our social cycle.
Yeah.
All that sort of stuff is really important.
New plays are usually more relevant because, as you rightly say, they're being written now. And now is what's happening in the world, right?
Yeah, exactly. And, theater has changed a bit or a lot, depending on your company, since COVID times. I mean, we all went dark for a while. Now theater is back with a roar, and some of the things that are being touted on the Broadway stages are things like not just a few projections, but massive projections on shows, live video, and video operators on some of these shows. There's 5 or 6 of them in the Portrait of Dorian Gray show. It's just amazing what's happening that's changed the face of theater. And so how do we develop that? How do we keep that alive and going?
Yeah, the technology has really changed. And this season for us is no different. We do have a play, Wag Me, that is about paranoia of being watched, and there's security camera footage and a mystery that's the audience along with the two characters are trying to unfold. And for that we're working to create a projection scape, basically, so the audience can see what is on the guy's computer.
Yeah.
But it means making a movie almost. And we are, as new play development, where we are creating the environment for the play to live in. And then when you have a play as technical as Wag Me, we're then faced with, okay, we've got to do this now. We've got to figure out how to make the projections happen, not only work, but happen.
Well, let's talk about the summer new festival plays. The 3 full productions that are rotating on the Willamette U schedule are happening from July 29th through August 10th. Let's go through the list of the 3 by 33 plays, what they're about and what's unique about them.
The City and the Sea is a magical, fantastic musical. It takes place over a span of several decades, starting in the 40s. And it's centered in Astoria. And the Columbia Bar, the treacherous Columbia Bar, plays a big role in the production. And it's a story of love and loss and intrigue. It's kind of a noir kind of feel to it.
It's a father and a daughter trying to find each other and solve the mystery of the past.
And there's mystical life and death involved.
Mm-hmm.
And how are you going to do the musical part of it? Are you going to have tracks, piano?
We're going to have an accompanist.
Because it's new, the composer has supplied audio tracks, mostly for the director to help get him ready to go and something to use in rehearsals when our accompanist isn't there. But mostly it's just a piano player and 6 actors and no mics or anything. We're working sort of bare bones with it.
Old school, if you will.
Yeah, old school, like we all did back in the day when we didn't have microphones. And as I said, it's a 6-person piece with some actors doubling in roles to tell this really, widespread story that, as Tom says, covers several decades.
Tell me a little bit about playwright Paul Lewis.
Paul Lewis is from Seattle. We've worked on a couple of projects from Paul Lewis over the past. Lost in the Hills was the last musical we did that Stephen Munshaw directed for us. And he's also written The Names that we did a couple years ago. But yeah, his plays have been seen at the Boston Children's Theatre and several places throughout the Seattle area.
And the next show opens the 30th of July and is called Confabulous, and that one is by Susan Faust. This one sounds really interesting. Tell me a little bit about it.
I'm directing this one, and it's about a woman who has dementia. She has 2 daughters who don't necessarily get along with each other. One is a type A and one is a type Z. I don't know what the other type is.
The other type is a type I don't care.
Type I don't care, right. And Pamela Abernathy is playing Geraldine, the woman with dementia. And her daughters are Erica Toey, who you've seen on our stage many times, and Krista Fenton. And then there's the lawn boy next door, who really is the one that teaches them how to be a caretaker. And that's played by a young man coming to us from Portland. I guess you could call it a kitchen sink drama in a way, because it's all set in Geraldine's house. It's a struggle that many of us sadly have experienced or are experiencing or will experience with a parent, and for that person also, and how their mind is changing.
This one is not atypical dementia content either, Ed. It's different in that Geraldine, we see the world through her eyes. And her eyes are not what you typically will find with a person with dementia. She's very fun. She can be very with it at times, and curious and funny. It's an unusual story about dementia.
The third of the 3 by 33 is Wag Me by R. Nicholas. This one sounds kind of creepy. It sounds kind of science. It sounds a little bit surveillance state. I'm intrigued by it.
It's a 2-hander, husband, wife, She's a biologist and she works in a high-powered lab where they're discovering things that have a political nature to them as well. And she's been removed from her job. Her husband has an ankle bracelet on because he's been arrested and he's on house arrest. And so he can't leave the house. And he's being framed for something within the crypto world. And WAGMI, I think, was a crypto coin, but it stands for We Are Gonna Make It, which has implications on the larger storyline. I think it's, to me, a real nod to Rear Window. And
Oh, yeah.
that feeling that he can never leave, right? He can't walk out of the house or he'll have problems with the law in the same way that Jimmy Stewart can't leave because he's got that broken leg. But they're constantly watching and they realize that they're being watched. And then it just has this wonderful surge to the climax and the resolution. But I can't tell you any of that because.
No spoilers here.
Right.
Okay, no spoilers here on KMUZ Theater Talk. That's important.
Right.
Then you've got a whole series of pop-up plays, and some of them are being done just in Salem, but some of these plays you've partnered with Portland State University.
Yeah.
Yes, we have. Yeah, we decided to try to engage the Portland art community a little bit more. So we are casting, rehearsing, and performing the 3 pop-ups in previews. We're going to preview them in Portland a few weeks before the full festival opens down here in Salem. They're being previewed on July 11, 12, and 13 at Portland State University. So they'll be performed one time up there, and then they'll come down to Salem and join the full festival beginning July 29th. So these 3 playwrights are going to have an additional opportunity to do some play development after that preview in Portland. They're going to have a good 2 weeks if they want to make any more revisions.
And those 3 plays are I Want You by Kathleen Cahill, Proper, a steampunk comedy of manners by Angela Guerco, and Cole is King by Quick Jones. Those are the ones you're previewing in Portland, right?
Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a really fun production that's happening on the campus at Willamette called Detours, which happens July 26th and 27th. And this is a real kind of unique and fun event. Tell me more.
We've been collaborating with Northwest Theater Workshop for 2 years now. Last year, we collaborated with them for a 7th production. This year, we're doing it again. They're a really innovative professional company of new play development in Portland. They also write their own scripts. And so they have written this script and we're co-proing it. What it is, the Willamette Historic Society is giving a tour of the Willamette campus because it's the oldest university in the Northwest. It's a comedic piece where everything goes wrong in that tour. And the tour also incorporates where the festival is going to take place. So this tour guide is taking them all over Willamette, walking tour, and all sorts of funny and crazy things occur.
Like there's a mom who's suffering from separation anxiety from her college-age student who is finally getting to go away to college, and she's put a tent on the campus so that she's going to live.
So she can stay close to her child.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, boy.
There's a professor who deals with mime and also time warping, who is a part of the characters. There's a security guard who is completely adverse to confrontations. There are 2 tour guides who aren't sure what they're doing, how to do it, or who should do it.
And if you go to reserve the space for Detours, what you'll see is this is a 2:00 show or a 2:15 show. And that's because there's 2 tour guides and one of them starts at 2 and the other one starts their audience at 2:15 in order to meet up at the end of the show. That's why when people look at the tickets for that, it looks kind of crazy. It says 2:00, 2:15, 7:00, 7:15, and the same on Sunday, 11 a.m., 11:15, and 4 p.m. and 4:15 p.m.
So just like a normal tour guide schedule.
Right.
Right.
Well, it sounds like a heck of a lot of fun. Where can we get information about tickets?
Go to our website, theater33.org, and reserve seats. We're maintaining our donation policy for the festival, and this is the first year, Ed, that we're fully regional. We are condensing what we used to do in 3 months into 2 weeks. All the plays are going to be rehearsing at the same time. Well, all three. And if the pop-ups need some more rehearsal before they open, they might. And we're going to stage 9 performances of 6 plays in 2 theaters each week. And this is to accommodate a regional traveling audience. So if you were to come from Seattle to the festival and you arrived on Thursday and you leave on Sunday evening, you could see all 6 plays.
That sounds really great. I'm so glad you're doing this because expanding this to a regional format, I think, is really going to help it grow and give you guys not just a bigger audience, but more recognition as a creative force as well.
Well, that's the plan, but you know what they say about, mice and men, right?
Well, there's that too. Well, everyone, Theater 33 Summer Festival 2025 is opening July 29th at Willamette University in Salem, and it runs through August 10th. This summer's festival includes 3 full productions that rotate on the Willamette U stage in late July and early August. The 3 by 33 plays include The City and the Sea, a new musical by Paul Lewis, Confabulous, a comedy drama by Susan Faust, and Wag-Me, a new thriller by R. Nicholas. The festival's pop-up plays preview at Portland State University, and then we'll see full performances of the pop-up plays on the campus. Cole is King by Quick Jones, I Want You, a dramatic comedy by Kathleen Kael, and Proper, a steampunk comedy of manners by Angela Guerco. And then July 26th and 27th, the Northwest Theater Workshop and Theater 33 presents Detours, which is a fun-filled walking theatrical tour of Willamette's campus. So go to theater33.org to learn more. And if you happen to see Thomas Nabhan and Susan Coromel wandering around the Willamette campus, you can talk to them about it too. They've been my guests here on KMUZ Theater Talk, and I want to thank you guys, Tom and Susan, for joining me here today to talk about the festival.
Our pleasure, Ed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ed.
It's time to wind up today's KMUZ Theater Talk program. Thanks a million for listening. KMUZ Theater Talk comes your way at 9 a.m. the first and third Friday of the month on KMUZ at 100.7 and 88.5 FM. Also on KMWV FM Dallas at 98.3 HD2 and streaming worldwide at kmuz.org and on the KMUZ mobile app. If you'd like to share this program with your friends and hear more behind-the-curtain interviews, open your favorite podcast app and subscribe to KMUZ Theater Talk. I'll be back on July 4th with a brand new KMUZ Theater Talk program. Meanwhile, see the KMUZ Theater Talk Facebook page for news and updates about live theater in the Mid-Willamette Valley. KMUZ Theater Talk is proud to partner with the Mid-Valley Theater Network and with Press Play Salem. Until next time, I'll see you in the front row.